And now we're moving on to another segment coming up, talking about building your own brand. Now, this is going to be your personal brand, and it's different things. I've had the pleasure of doing that throughout the last few years. We've got Shelby Hall on here. She's going to be on here a second time. And it's really cool to once again talk to Shelby about building a personal brand, because Shelby is a part of the Hall family, and she is building her own way as well. And of course, keeping the Hall name and the generations that come with it. So Shelby, thank you so much once again for joining us and building your personal brand this time. And Shelby, congrats on everything that you've been doing. It's really, really cool to see this. I see the Rebelle Rally back there. I see you still doing, Ford Performance, all of that. So first and foremost, third generation, but building your own personal brand. How did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, Tiffany, so good to see you. I mean, you've been amazing to watch over the years also, and building an incredible brand. And it's been a lot of trial and error. There's really no book of how to build your own personal brand, because that's what it is. It's all personal. And I've been listening in all day. There's been such amazing speakers, and I felt like this was such a cool opportunity to be able to listen to it all. And I feel like each piece that people have said as recommendations and advice is how you build that brand. You have to be true to yourself. Today, we market ourselves on social media 98% of the time. And people are looking to us for advice on what parts to get, what vehicles to buy, where to take them, what fluids we're putting in the vehicle. And we have to be respectful and responsible to the people who are watching us, that we're giving good advice and valid advice. And that's been one of the most important things to me, is to build a brand that really represents me.
Well, and talking about that, Desert Roots, that's your personal brand. That's something that you've been doing. I know that you just had a huge party, which was exciting to see that. You had BFG, Fox, tons of different companies there to support you. And that's something that we've talked about in the past. It's a little bit different, with your grandfather, that was his brand. And then, of course, the newer brand with your father and that generation. And now it's Shelby Hall Off-Road. I think I'm getting goosebumps as I say this, but it's really, really cool to see that. And where did SHOW come from? We all need a tagline. I have T-Stone approved. Those are things that I believe in. You have SHOW, you have Desert Roots. So really kind of, how did SHOW come about, and how did Desert Roots come about?
Yeah, growing up with the family that I grew up with, it was very easy to be in the shadow, and being the only female who actually wanted to be a part of desert racing, and even just kind of off-road adventure in general. I had to figure out where I stood, and thankfully in 2019 I got an invitation from Ford to be a driver for their Baja 1000 team. And, I just really felt like at that time, I was a pretty regular old girl, just like doing regular old things. I raced as often as I could. But, I didn't really have a lot of those sponsors myself. That was relationships that had been built by my grandfather. So when I had this opportunity to go and race with Ford, I just thought, man, how often do I have a brand like Ford sitting in front of me? I have to present ideas that I have. And in 2020 was when I offered the idea for us to go and compete in the Rebelle Rally. And for some crazy reason, they said, yes, this is a good idea. And, it was those little wins, the win of the Rebelle itself, and then being able to just share ideas that I had with these larger companies that had such a large platform, was really what inspired me to go out on my own. And, I spent a lot of time working on the launch of the Bronco, and good catch.
That just fell. All right. I will look at that in a little bit.
So I just felt like, because of my affiliation with some other really prominent brands, I was able to start fine tuning what I wanted out of this industry. And it was just kind of like one thing led to another, and the time felt right to start my own company and to bring those sponsors along to be able to build Shelby Hall Off Road.
That's really, really cool to kind of see all that. So what's going into the future? Because we always talk about being yourself, doing the things that you want to do, especially because you don't want to be somebody that you're not. Like Dave Cole was saying earlier, people can be able to smell that out. They can be able to say, hey, that's not me. That's not you. We know that that's not you. And after a while, you can only fake it for so long before you really say, hey, that's not me. You know, when I post videos, I'm installing a few things, but nobody's looking at me how to do a complete install on how to build a trophy truck. Like that's not me. I know that 100%. I don't claim to be. So as a female in this world, how do you really kind of go about that to ensure that you're being honest with yourself, but also trying to gain that brand recognition?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of check-ins. You know, it's a lot of personal check-ins. It's a lot of team check-ins because it is easy. It's like Matt was saying, you wake up in the morning, you open social media, and you scroll and you compare, right? And you think, oh man, I need to be putting out content that's like what this other person is putting out. But that's not authentic. And so for me, you know, I wanted to create a platform that I wish I'd had when I was younger. I wish that I had had a little more like actual one-on-one training. I wish I had been around more women in off-road and been a little more in an atmosphere where I felt like I could ask questions. And so that's what I want to do. You know, now I just want to be able to offer a space that I wish I'd had before.
That's really, really cool to see. And we got about 4 more minutes. What's the one big piece of advice that you would give anybody out there, male, female, older, young, that's starting to create their own personal brand for themselves? I know it's kind of hard because especially when you're growing up, your early 20s, even into your 30s now that social media has taken over, your brand also evolves with you. It kind of changes. So what's a piece of advice that you give to somebody trying to create their own personal brand?
I mean, I would be very thoughtful about what you put out on social media. You know, that lives forever and you never know who's going to see that. And it's important to stay true to yourself, and you're allowed to have opinions and you're allowed to do things the way you want to do things. But if you want to be sponsored by companies like Ford Performance or BF Goodrich Tires or, you know, large global companies, there is a standard. And, you know, the way that you carry yourself and the relationships that, you know, the people that you surround yourself with speaks volumes. And so my biggest piece of advice is, you know, really be thoughtful about what you're putting out on the internet.
Wonderful. Well, Shelby, thank you so much for stopping by once again. It's always great to chat with you. And like you said, you got to be authentic. You're setting yourself, you know, you're the third generation Hall in this motorsports crazy world that we all live in. And especially, like you said, being a female and kind of setting yourself apart from the rest of your family. So big congratulations on everything. I hope you guys do very, very well at the Rebelle Rally Desert Roots. That is amazing to kind of see. I love the logo. That's something that is special to you. So thank you so much for being here. I truly, truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Shelby. And another great friend of mine that I've met in the Jeep off-road world. She is here right now. Her name is Holly Fowler. You may have seen her before as Mischief Maker. If you ever saw a little TV series called Trail to SEMA, that is actually where we got a chance to meet both of us. We're brand new really to off-road racing. I know that she started out as an opera singer, so it's really cool to see how she created her own personal brand into the motorsports world. Holly, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you so much for having me. This is really awesome.
It's really cool to see you. So we know you as Mischief Maker. Now you're kind of going more with Holly Fowler, Seat Time Syndicate, rebranding, recreating things. And how have you done that? How's the journey been for you for like the last 6-7 years?
So it's been pretty interesting. I came really into this in 2019. I got the Jeep in 2017, didn't really know what it was capable of, and got kind of shown that through friends and watching YouTube, which is kind of funny. And so 2019, my husband and I sold our house and traveled the country for 4.5 years, just off-roading across country. And it was just something that I picked up and loved and wanted to do pretty much every single day. So seat time over everything became my big motto, and I was known for that, which was super cool. And just really encouraging everyone in those areas to, you know, that we were traveling in, to come out and wheel, whether you have a stock vehicle, a built up vehicle, whether you're experienced, you're not. And we managed to get a lot of people into the sport just, you know, just by being, like everyone has said so far on this, like being authentic and, you know, just being, you know, there for everyone. So I've managed to go from Seat Time Over Everything. I am rebranding to Seat Time Syndicate because I've now kind of touched into the Ultra 4 racing world, which I'm really enjoying. It is kicking my butt slightly, but that's what I love about it, is the challenge of everything. And just Seat Time Syndicate being, you know, covering, being that umbrella for everything, dirt biking, whatever you like to do outdoors, it kind of covers that. So it's been pretty interesting, and especially making those connections with people and companies along the way. Honestly, having boots on the ground for me has been fantastic, because not only do I have you know, professional relationships with these people, I have very personal relationships with them as well, you know, seeing their kids grow up, going to their birthday parties and stuff like that. So yeah, just it's been, people always ask me, you know, how we're talking about, you know, building your own brand. Consistency is the key for everything. And for me personally, consistency is very difficult. I have ants in my pants. So like trying to keep it up every day or every week doing something, you know, it's pretty challenging. But that's honestly just one of the two main things for building a brand. And the second one is, if you say you're going to do something or be somewhere, follow through with it. Otherwise, if you don't turn up to one or two of these events or races or whatever you said that you know, you're going to turn up to and be at and participate in, your name kind of gets muddled in with everyone else. Oh, well, you know, there's another one. We thought that she was in it or they were in it, and now they've kind of dropped off for a little bit, and they don't have that momentum. So it's interesting to navigate, especially also you guys have touched on social media. Social media is a very funny thing, and again, it's just consistency, right? Whether you're taking a picture of your Jeep or your race car or whatever, people want to follow you, the person who's building this. It doesn't matter if, you know, you're taking a picture eating at Red Lobster or something, you know, they want to be with you every step of the way. And that's part of building the brand, because it's not just Seat Time Syndicate, it's Holly Fowler, and then whoever is going to be working with Seat Time Syndicate. So
no, and you're absolutely correct. And like what George and Matt were talking about in the previous session, you have that storyline, you kind of build that story. It's just kind of like, you know, the Rebelle Rally with Shelby. We want to see what she's going to do, how she's going to build it, how she's going to finish. You have that invested time and interest into it. Same thing with you, building your King of the Hammers, building Nessie, which is awesome. For the people who don't know, it's so cool because Holly is Scottish, so you know the Loch Ness monster, and so this is like the Loch Ness rockster, right? Is that what it is? It's like you built Nessie because it's a rock monster.
It's the rock. Yeah, so it's the Rock Ness monster instead of the Loch Ness monster.
Yes.
has my family tartan on there and my family plaid on there, and yeah, so it's just all about building stories. Everyone has a story every day, right? And you can
Yeah.
make it as interesting or as uninteresting as possible. And I think yeah, it's just it's fun. It's a lot of fun, when you decide to build a Ultra 4500 car in 57 days and try and get it tested and get it out there and get it over the start line. People love that, and now people have grabbed onto that story, and they want to see a finish. I'm pretty sure she can finish. I gotta get in there too. So
No, and you're absolutely correct. That is one thing about building the brand. It's having the connection, whether it's face to face, whether it's social media, whether it's virtually, whether it's in person. And I know you're at Great Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion as well right now, getting there.
yeah.
And that's where people who see you on the internet or see you on YouTube or see you at the races actually get to meet the person, which is in return, once again, a step into building that brand. So that's really cool. I know that we also have EJ Nagley on here, so if EJ could pop on, that'd be wonderful. Holly, Shelby, please stay on. I'm gonna come back to you guys, grab another quick finishing comment from there. And it's so good to see EJ, so thank you, Holly. And EJ Nagley, if you guys have ever seen some of my social posts or any of the wraps I've done on the Jeep in the past few years, that is how I met EJ. EJ started off working in a shop wrapping vehicles, but of course wanted to build her own brand and wanted to be her own person. And it's really cool to see this. Now she also is a fabricator and a welder and works for Scott Birdsall at Chuckles Garage, which kudos to you guys. Congratulations on getting that red hat for Pikes Peak, EJ. It is so good to see you here. And I just want to talk to you about creating a brand through YouTube. And you are a person who has created their brand through YouTube and doing everything with that. And now social media has taken over for you. You have created all these great reels of behind the scenes of working with Chuckles and everything that you did to prep. And now you're over 122,000 followers on Instagram, just showcasing everything. And it's really cool to kind of see all this. So tell me about your journey going from EJ to EJ Was Here.
All right. So first of all, thanks for having me. So I started off my Instagram and social media channels just kind of based around the first project car that I picked up, like working on it, little things I had to fix, and I'm learning along the way too. So starting from just the project card, transitioning into what I do for work and sharing stuff that happens around the shop, wherever that may be. I have found that people like to watch that stuff. They like to tag along. They like to see the kind of adventures that I go on. And yeah, I've also found that another helpful part of my channels is that the stuff that I share that's informational or perhaps educational, I find in my case that that's the stuff that tends to do the best.
Well, and talking about that, you said each step of the way you've learned, and we all know, I'm assuming Holly and Shelby and everybody else who has a YouTube out there knows how critical YouTube can actually be. And the keyboard warriors and everybody just thinking that they know exactly what you're supposed to do, not supposed to do. She should have done this, she should have done that. Why isn't a man doing this type deal? But you showcased all of that in your branding. You showcased the struggles, everything that came along with it, the ups, the downs, the bad times. And I've seen you do that, and you're just like, should I post this? I'm like, just do it, because that is who you are. So going a little bit further with building your personal brand, how could you tell somebody, hey, it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to post this stuff, because everybody learns, we all started somewhere.
Yeah, so most of what you see on social media is like the highlight reel, or the best of the best. You don't see behind the scenes. You don't see the not so pretty welds that people are making. You don't see the mistakes that are made. So just like recognizing that we're all human and kind of posting that for other people to see hopefully encourages them to not be afraid to make mistakes, because they're gonna happen. Like the best of the best make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. So once you kind of can understand that and then move forward from that and realize that it's going to happen, I'm going to learn from it, and then I won't make that same mistake again.
No, and I feel like you have to keep continuously growing and evolving. And when you first started out, you didn't know what your branding was going to be. It's really cool to see this. We both grew up in Michigan, close to each other. Now you moved over to California to work with Chuckles. What have you learned about branding and kind of not restarting your brand, but evolving it to what it is right now, and knowing that it's possible to kind of evolve even further in the next few years?
Yeah, so throughout this whole kind of adventure, this whole journey, I've tried not to stay too niche or too specific to one thing. So, for example, my first project car was a Subaru, and at the time I thought that was my end all be all, that was everything to me. But obviously, I've grown far past that. So, just not limiting yourself to one thing or one topic, I think has really been helpful for me because as I grow and as I change, I can kind of share that content and that everything that's happening with me, and then people are seeing that as I go, as opposed to one day or for however long I'm posting about rapping, for example, then all of a sudden I'm doing something else, but maybe those people only wanted to follow me because of rapping. So I just try to stay like kind of as broad as I can, but still within my genre or my region, if you will.
No, and I completely understand. And I think that's something that's really, really great to be able to see you and to see you evolve and kind of grow into what you are right now. One more thing before I go back to and circle back, one last question with everybody. What do you see as the biggest struggle creating your brand?
Ooh, the biggest struggle. I think one, staying consistent. That is something that's important. And sometimes there can just be a lot going on in life, or it can be overwhelming, but staying consistent with it and also just staying true to who you are, which can be challenging when you're looking at so many other channels per day. You're watching what other people are doing, you're taking inspiration, but don't stray too far from yourself and what's true to you.
No, and you're absolutely correct. I talked to you yesterday and we were talking about how your social media and your reels have kind of really expanded your growth. Like I said, I was like, EJ, you were at 30K and now you're at 122K. And it's really cool to see that. And one of them that actually took off that you thought was funny. And I said, where'd you get this? And it's only because I know, because you've been building your brand, your love for Dr. Pepper, that there was a Dr. Pepper holding two cans of Dr. Pepper holding up a vehicle while you're fixing, and you're like the only doctor that I trust. But that's something I realized from you being consistently posting about your love for Dr. Pepper. And that one reel got 22.6 million views just for a small snippet of like you in the shop just saying this is the only doctor I trust. So it's really, really cool to see that. So EJ, thank you so much for stopping by, giving insight on how to stay true to yourself. I just want to go back to Shelby Hall real quick and follow up and wrap up this whole thing. Shelby, out of everything that we've talked about, the main thing that I've heard from the three on this panel about building your own brand is consistency. And how difficult is it for you to stay consistent, especially now that social media is not necessarily a job, but it's required. So some may feel like it's a job, where we used to be posting about just the things we liked and enjoyed. I went here, I went there. These are my favorite things. How do you stay consistent in posting about what is you, but yet also staying true to you and using some of those new trends that are available?
Well, to be honest, I have help with my social media because, as being a business owner and a competitor and, having kind of a personal life, I felt like that consistency was really hard for me. And so I did a lot of thinking about it and decided I needed to grow my team and bring someone on board that understands social media better and that could keep that consistency for me. And now we get to collaborate on it. And I still do all of the interactions, I do all my stories, but to have that consistency, which has been just like the other ladies have said, like that is the key to growing on social media. I mean, to anything, right? Like the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And so like you gotta always be consistent. So I am not ashamed to admit that I have expanded my team to nail that consistency.
Well, and that's the thing about being honest and being yourself and realizing that you can't do everything. I think so many people expect to be able to do everything. You're supposed to be either the host or the driver or the racer and the filmer and the editor and the creative mind behind it. And after a while of seeing so many different trends, you kind of just get lost, I guess, is kind of, you're like, well, what do I do? Is this on brand? Is this not on brand? Well, if I do this, is it not going to work? So it is awesome to hear you say that, hey, I needed help. This is exactly what I'm doing. And I think that once again goes to what we say about being on brand. So thank you so much, Shelby Hall.
I love driving, so I wanted to spend as much time driving as I could.
Nope, absolutely. And to you, Holly Fowler, as somebody who has built a brand and rebranded herself with the Seat Time Syndicate and also worked with companies like Tread Lightly to be able to give a Tread Lightly Jeep away, but also staying on brand of true to yourself. How do you do something like that to have a company believe and trust in you, not only build a giveaway Jeep once, but do a build for a second time and stay on brand?
Yeah, it's kind of going back to what I said before. I've everything that I've said that I'm going to go do, whether it's an event or a race or just be somewhere, I've followed through. And if the companies see that, they kind of have a little faith in you and they trust in you. And also just trying to work with brands that I believe in and I back. Is great. And with Tread Lightly, this is the third giveaway, which is super cool. In fact, the third, yeah, we have it right here in Smoky Mountain. We're going to be wheeling it here at Windrock, and I'm just lucky to have those relationships that I've built up over the years. And it's yeah, just moving forward. Hopefully they just get stronger and stronger and manage to reach out to, you know, more elite companies that I believe in. That's also just staying true to yourself. I really don't work with anyone who I don't back or I don't believe in. And it's always customer service for me first. I'm always a customer of the company first, whether they come to me and say, we would love to give you that. It's okay. I'll buy it first. Let me see what I think of it. Let me see how, you know, our relationship kind of builds like that. And yeah, so I'm lucky to have the partners that I have, and I'm excited to hopefully move forward.
That is awesome. And one more thing, how important is it to you to have the same partner year after year to build that type of relationship, especially when we were talking about it before, that when you have a marketing deck, you propose that, that's your introduction, and then you become a little bit more friendly, you learn who they are, and then you also give that proposal once you guys have talked and chatted, hey, these are the things I do. So how important is it to you to keep that same brand?
It really is. When I approach brands or companies, I definitely am not looking for a short-term 1 year contract. I definitely look for, you know, 3 to 5 year contracts, because I feel like to work with a brand, it's mutually beneficial and you can both grow together with that collaboration. And it takes a little longer than a year. You can only do so much in a year. You can make a little noise in a year, but you can move mountains within between 2 and 5 years. So
wonderful. Well, Holly, thank you so much. Best of luck on your third one. My apologies. I thought it was 2, but it's 3. Time flies here when we're all having fun. So thank you so much, Holly. And EJ, moving over to you about talking about building the brand one more time. You work with a gentleman who has his own brand, Chuckles Garage. That is something that he has, but yet you've still been able to set yourself apart from that and create your own brand. So what's some advice that you would give somebody who has their brand, looking to expand their brand, but also works with somebody who has their own brand?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a little bit of a balancing act. I don't want to step on anyone's toes, and I would hope that they would feel the same way towards me. I think what's really important is just finding the right people, brands that are willing to work with you for a mutual growth of everyone involved versus somebody kind of falling into the category of someone else.
No, you're absolutely correct. And like that, we've always said, working together, it's going to bring the best, you know, and I've had the pleasure of working with all of you ladies in some form, some way, some interviews, some shapes. So I truly appreciate this. And thank you so much for being here. Shelby, Holly, EJ, you know, building your own brand, especially in this world, is very difficult. And it's really cool to be able to see each and every one of you build your brand, evolve the brand to where it's kind of going. And then, of course, I'm so excited to see where your brand's going to go, because it's really cool to see each one of you take your ownership in your respective niche, sort of say, and kind of build that. So, ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. Awesome. And then thank you guys so much. I hope you found this session to be really informative about building your own brand, because each of us have our own brand. We sometimes just need to find it. But like each one of them said, and which everybody else has said, as long as you stay true and honest to yourself, your brand is always going to be able to be there and come about. So I am very, very honored to be able to talk to all three of those ladies. And of course, Matt Martelli, George Hamill. Thank you guys. Back to you, Alex.
Hey, thank you, Tiffany. Those are two outstanding sessions. Great job. You rock. And thank you, Matt and George, EJ, Holly, and Shelby. Thank you, everybody, for those two sessions. I think as long as racers hang up this call today, or they leave the call and say, wow, that was good, I didn't realize this is new information, then we have succeeded. If every driver on the call can raise a little bit more money, create a little bit more value, motorsports will grow.